world, and there's a real tendency for people to start just getting angry and shaking their fist at the man and all this kind of stuff. And that's exactly the energy that binds us.
Yes, it's a binding energy.
It's a binding energy. So
it's almost like ritual magic.
That's it. It's I would go one step further and say it is exactly that. It's a spell, and as soon as you fall into that, you are just feeding your energy into the machine. So there's all these levels of sophistication kind of built into it to entrap your energy more and more. And so the more you wake up to it, the more you feed into it as well. So the only real way out is to wake up to who you are and become a light body, to become that essentially self-realized person that is basically not in any of those games, right? And then it all becomes about local community, and it becomes about, basically the humanity and the elements that we've lost out on, right? This whole globalization and separation from our environment has created this, I say this all the time. I went to college with guys who didn't realize that food grew out of the ground. I mean, they kind of understood it, but food comes in a box. It's wrapped in plastic.
Yeah.
That's a very dangerous tendency. Right. So, and it doesn't have to be that way, because, I was, to illustrate the point, I just went, at the end of last year, I've been involved in a couple of documentary films that I've been making, and one of them, which should come out sometime next year, these things take forever, but it was about, it's called Origins, and it's about us finding out who we are and our spiritual origins, and how to, live off the land again. And myself and a couple of the guys in the film, as part of this process, did this wilderness survival course in Africa in big game country with lions and elephants and buffalo and the whole nine. And within 6 weeks, actually it was only a 4-week course. I was there for 6 weeks, but within 28 days, I went from intentionally not cracking a book and knowing anything about that environment to being able to name the birds and know how to survive and know what to eat and what you can't eat and how to avoid getting killed and all of it, right? And so it doesn't take that long to figure it out. We're smart.
Right.
But it does take a dedication to wanting to learn it, and it takes wanting to wake up to it, right? And when you become aware of the natural environment, then you care about preserving it. But if you're just wrapped up in your iPhone and your BlackBerry and wondering what the score is of the game, then nothing really matters.
Yes, and as you know, the mind, we start to think that we are our mind, and then the mind is capable of justifying anything, and we dismiss everything that is good because we're too lazy to and too frightened and too much in denial to see the truth because we postponed it for so long.
That's it. It's if people don't see parallels between that and our economy and the way we run our financial system, it's almost scary. We're borrowing from our future to get through today, and what happens is there will be a reckoning, and the reckoning is something that happens on all levels, but people are so afraid of that reckoning that they just bury their heads in pharmaceuticals and distractions and all these types of things, which just make it worse. And so, the only way out is in, and the only way in is to really start to examine these energies and these thoughts and these patterns within ourselves.
You mentioned on, I think it's on page 49 because I highlighted it, and this is something that I really like, and I tell people all the time. You said that the truth is that each of us has likes and wants things that make us happy. The problem is that many of us have strayed from here and are stuck doing jobs that we don't like and stuck in a life situation that is not allowing us the time, space, energy, or money to follow through with those dreams. And I think you really nailed it, because we end up settling for the people that we're in relationships with and for our lifestyle and for our careers. And all of that stuff is just programmed BS designed to keep us in a rat's maze or a wheel spinning and paying taxes and buying things. So, this is really, there's so many pitfalls of allurement and ensnarement that can happen to take our consciousness and eat our soul. I think you are probably a master at recognizing these things, huh?
It's a challenge because it's just this old joke that we used to see, like a little workshop sheet as a wish list for workshops I'd like to see, and one of them said, dealing with post self-realization depression.
I love it.
Because
once you
start once you start seeing it for what it is, at first it's kind of ugly.
Yes.
And you say, wow, I didn't realize how far gone. Either I'm crazy or everyone else is crazy.
Yeah.
And, I don't, and usually what happens is I don't really have the self-worth or the ego strength to think that one of those is, right, and it's got to be me, right? So, maybe I'm just seeing the world in the wrong way. But, frankly, it's when you start waking up at first, and only at first, really, it's a lonely place.
Yeah.
Because you start to realize that a lot of the relationships that you've had and you've kind of kept in your life are very codependent and vampirical, if you will. There's a lot of subtle vampirism, and we're not talking about sucking blood. We're talking about sucking energy.
That's right. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah,
and that happens in the subtle realms. I mean, there are dark magicians that are capable of following people in the streets in the cities, and they can literally tap into your life energy and suck it right out.
Sure.
So even on the most simplistic level, and then if you want to take that to a higher level, you can know that there are slightly higher dimensional entities that are capable of living off of our negativity and our hatred and our worship as well.
Oh, yeah.
And that's food on another level. Everything is food for something else.
There was a Castaneda who said, I know there's a lot of controversy about Castaneda, but I've always liked his books. We live in a predatory universe.
Mm-hmm.
And there's only one way. I mean, I kind of talk about this in the book for a little while, is, what I call the horizontal axis of this kind of human realm of, dog eat dog, and I need to get mine, and, you give me a compliment and I'll, tolerate your idiosyncratic ways and all these types of things all these kind of subtle arrangements we have with each other, right? And that predatory universe comes from, very simple interactions of junior high children all the way up to this transdimensional dark force stuff that is very much alive and well. And if people only knew, they would be so scared of reality that the horror flicks couldn't even come close. So
absolutely.
So there's a lot of crap out there, and what happens is it starts to so you have these sort of dark lords kind of orchestrating from top down and really going after people's energy and overtly doing it, and then it goes all the way down to this these interactions you'll see in children that are 12, 13, 14 years old, and the way they kind of ride each other, and the way they kind of gain power from each other, and all sorts of these interpersonal dynamics that they get from their parents, who got from their work, who got from their culture, and it kicks all the way down. So what needs to happen in a fundamental shift to the way we operate, all of it really, in my opinion, is as people start waking up and what I refer to as kind of tapping into that vertical realm, lining up their chakras and opening up the energy flow and opening up themselves to the flow of that eternal life-giving light that is always emanating and always moving through us and is the source of who we truly are, then all of that dark shadowy crap starts to fall away. The shadow energies can only feed off of our unconscious realms.
Right.
And so consciousness, by definition, shines the light of consciousness through and basically clears out all these cobwebs. Yeah. So there's really no point in drawing our swords and kind of differentiating who the worst bad guy is and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
And the orientation, and again, that's from my perspective. I mean, there's many ways to skin a cat here, but from my perspective, the quickest, easiest, and most effective and efficient way to do it is to bring that light and wake up your own consciousness and activate your own light body, and then that vampirical energy just can't touch you.
Yes, yeah, absolutely right. Like you said, blaming and getting really too in depth with all these conspiracies is like rearranging the chairs on the Titanic.
That's it. That's it.
And it becomes a big distraction. So, and then people argue about which chair is the right chair and so on and so forth. And
that's it. Well, and it's just like religion in a way. I can't remember if it was Tim Leary or Terence McKenna, but one of them said, hey, give me one free miracle, and I could explain anything. And he was referring to religion. Right? Just give me one free miracle and I explain everything. And I've come to the conclusion that conspiracy theory is the same way. Because no matter what happens, you could either prove or disprove it because, it's obviously because they want you to think that. And so you could just run around these semantic circles for eons wondering what's true and what's not true. And I'm not saying that there's no conspiracies out there. I mean, I think you'd be a fool to think that the way things are is the picture painted is actually what's going on. But the problem I've seen in these circles of people I've hung out with for years who are really up on this stuff is they tend to pick up a lot of these darker memes or mental viruses by being caught up in all this, and it's just you have no choice but to start getting angry and seeing the world as a dark, scary place, and and I don't know if Obama was genetically engineered from the mummy of Tutankhamun. I don't know if that even matters to me. Right? I mean, it starts to get so abstract and so crazy that I can't prove whether it's right or wrong. So what I'm going to do is work on what's important in my life, which is waking up and spreading the light. Right. And the light of awareness, in my circle and as much as I can. That's why I went from being, a physician and, being able to help 10, 15, 20 people a day to saying this ain't moving fast enough. That's why I got into writing books and making DVDs and movies because it's about, no one can do it for you. And that's the problem. That's the false promise in the West. We have this Messiah thing. We got this Savior thing. We're hoping someone will just fix all of our problems, right? We're hoping that we can run up a bunch of debt and then the government comes and wipes it out. And that's just not the way it works. That's
they can do that promise. The government can do that for themselves.
Well,
we're the ones that end up wiping it out.
Well, that's it. And we end up
we
paying
pay the bill.
Yeah, and it's through real labor, real time, real energy, real power.
Right.
And so that's just, that's also, it's just another false system on top of another false system. The only thing that's real is the real question of who are you? Where do you come from? What is the source of life? And those are the real questions because the answers to those questions are found within. And those when you find those answers and when you basically get into that inquiry, there really is no answer. There's just question after question after question that puts you on the right track. And once you're on that track, then you're riding the light.
Yes.
And you're good. You're in a safe, happy place.
Absolutely. One of the things I like about your book is that you do a lot of writing about the light body and how to work on accumulating and contacting with, communicating with and enhancing the light body, which is already within us. And many different disciplines use the element of taking